Welcome at a new episode of Riks Europe Roundup, where we have a lot of discuss because Microsoft had a complete outage, which caused quite a problem to say the least, and of course Biden dropping out of the presidential elections. With us, as always, is my lovely colleague Peter. Peter, let's start with Biden. So, I mean, it's not a surprise that he dropped out of the elections. We already saw it coming for a while now. But it is a moment to start reflecting on the past 4 years that the USA knew him as the president. So, how would you say his presidency was?
Look, I think indeed nobody was surprised. What people could see was that we had a man that was growing older and weaker. Biden did have his sharp moments, to be fair, once in a while, really sharp. But he had his moments where he was completely lost. And this is not something from the last few months. This has been highlighted, of course, by his political opponents over the last few years, and was strongly denied by the media. Now, if you look at what he has actually done, I think it's a very mixed presidency. I mean, the pullout of Afghanistan was perhaps a good idea to finally leave that country, but the way it happened was, of course, a complete disaster. Ukraine, I think we have to give Biden credit a little bit. He has, managed to avoid a direct conflict with Russia, and at the same time, he has helped Ukraine to a degree. But it's very difficult to get it right. Some people will say that he was way too interventionist. Some people would say that he was basically pulling back. When it comes to the economy, I don't think it's a great achievement. He spent a lot of money during COVID, like other governments. He was a protectionist. People that don't like Trump because he's a protectionist, fair enough. But then they cannot like Biden because he was just as bad when it comes to that, basically. So I would say a very mixed track record.
And then, of course, we have Kamala Harris probably following up the footsteps of Biden. At least she's now being endorsed by him. The reason why Biden dropped out is because the Democrats are trying to win the elections. Do you think they have a fair shot of winning it with Kamala as their candidate?
I think they have a better shot now than with Biden, especially if she takes a VP pick, a vice president pick that is a bit more moderate, because she's, according to a 2019 survey, she was the most far-left senator of all of them. So she pretends to be a moderate, but she clearly is not. Now, she's a weak politician. She had to drop out early in the 2020 presidential race. I think observers agree that she did not do a good job as vice president. Of course, that may change now. Maybe she will become president. Maybe a good strategy, would give her a bit more, let's say, an image of seriousness, maybe. Trump is his own worst enemy, sometimes he says things that puts off, especially the moderate. And what people forget is you have all these opinion polls looking at how the whole United States think of the two candidates, but that does not matter. It doesn't matter what California thinks, because they're going to vote Democrat anyway. Or Alabama is going to be Republican anyway. You have to look at the swing states, and there it's going to be very tight. So this is definitely not a win in the bag for Trump.
So he has some serious competition. Then we're moving forward to Europe because we had quite a hectic week as well. Last week, if you went on holiday on Schiphol, you probably have waited for hours and hours in the queue because there was an outage with Microsoft. I think all of us are surprised. First and foremost, Peter, what happened exactly and how could this happen?
Well, this is, of course, very complicated, and I'm not a technician, so I got to be careful here. But, what was incredibly surprising is that after a few days, after a week, really, suddenly Microsoft came out blaming the European Union for this biggest IT outage in history, which, as you say, has really troubled holiday plans of people, but it has also endangered the functioning of hospitals. it has caused all kinds of damage. Now, long story short, what has happened? Microsoft uses security updates from another company called CrowdStrike. They have made a mistake. Everybody can make a mistake. Now, Microsoft was affected, but Apple was not. And why is that? Because Microsoft closed a deal in 2009, 15 years ago, with the European Union that it would allow competition in the provision of these kind of security updates. What Microsoft would have preferred is to do what Apple has done, is to only allow in-house security updates so that it would be able to control better, the quality of these security updates. Experts seem to agree that that is definitely a reason why Apple was not hit by this problem, and why Microsoft has been hit. To be fair, Microsoft could have taken some extra measures to also comply with the EU's requirements, but the EU's requirement was definitely one factor in this. And it goes back to the problem that the European Union, they think that companies should not be allowed to make publicity for their own products in their own shop. It's like if you would have a Mercedes garage and you would have some, Mercedes clothing that they would sell there. The European Commission would say, oh, how unfair that you don't sell clothing of Ferrari and BMW and Fiat. You should also allow these providers into your shop. It's the exact same thing. It's completely ridiculous. I don't think in the first place European Commission bureaucrats should have that power, but now we've seen that this has major consequences. Now, this is not the end of the story, because what the European Union did last year is to enshrine this policy, which is a part of its competition policy. It's basically relatively arbitrary policy by the competition department of the European Commission. It enshrined this into a law, the DMA, the Digital Markets Act. Now, at the moment, over the last year, a number of big tech companies, Apple, but also Meta, have announced that they will not offer certain artificial intelligence products to Europeans in the European Union because of the restrictions imposed by the European Union, not only with its Digital Markets Act, which constrains them, which forces them to use the products of competitors, but also because of the GDPR, which everybody knows, all these, restrictions on data. Now, if you want to develop artificial intelligence, it's very simple. You need one thing. You need gigantic amounts of data. So this is becoming a very, very big problem. Because of this, Europeans are missing out on incredibly important innovation. So I think it's high time that people start to realize how dangerous this is.
On that note, I would like to conclude what you said, because, of course, everything that the European Union does always sounds very noble. Look, we're trying to control unfair competition on the market, but it's causing us lack of innovation, and we're suffering all because of it. So thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge and information with us. And, of course, thank you to our viewers for watching with us.
Thanks, Scott.